So 3 key ways to increase your bottom line. Now, this isn't necessarily something that was focused on at the event last week, but it is in line with one of the things that we were looking at, and that was around the products in which we offer and the pricing. So I'll come to that in a second. But I think the important thing that I wanted to stress here is ultimately we are about to go into the next tax year. So this is an ideal opportunity where you can really sit down and drill down on your numbers and plan for the next financial year. I know many businesses run in line with the tax year in terms of their business financial year. So this is a really important time to sit back and reflect on your numbers in readiness. So what are the 3 ways in which you can increase your bottom line? Now, one of the main ways that every single business coach will always talk about, and they'll always push, right? And that is increasing sales. That's the most obvious one. But often, actually, when you look at a business, sometimes the sales are actually at a good level in terms of it, that, you know, all of the sales are serviceable, they're providing a great customer service. And actually, if they increase the sales much more, then the end deliverables would not be as great as what they should be. So yes, I'm not saying, you know, you shouldn't increase sales, because increasing sales is one of the easier ways, I guess, to improving that bottom line. But actually, there are other ways which often get overlooked. And these are the 3 things that I'm going to be talking about today. So the first one, reducing your actual business expenses. Now, I know for many of you, your expenses have gone up, and they've gone up beyond your control. So for things like fuel costs, if you're running vehicles, in relation to electricity and, you know, business rates and all of those things, which have had a knock-on effect on many businesses' bottom lines. But often one of the things that I see when I go in and I do a detailed analysis of businesses is actually they don't know where their money is going. And that is where sometimes that very tedious task of looking over your bank statements for the last 3 to 6 months and actually seeing, one, where the money is going out, and seeing whether actually there is anything in there that could be reviewed. And if you look at your accounts in detail, so if you've got something like Xero, when you start looking at your profit and loss and you look at the categories and you look at it so you can see it month by month and see where your biggest expenditure is. So out of those big expenditures, what could potentially be reduced, right? And I recently went into a client business and I started doing this detailed analysis. One of the things that we trimmed down was their accountancy fees, and I've trimmed them down by 75%. That's how much, because they, you know, what they were paying for, they didn't need. And it was only when I sat down and looked at, okay, what are you being charged for? Do you need all of these things? Now, an accountant, I'm not saying you should skimp on an accountant, but what are they actually doing for you, and what does the business actually need? We've then also looked at staffing levels, and the staffing levels had been one of the biggest expenses. But we also looked at, they had vehicles, and we were like, well, hang on a second, how much are these vehicles actually costing the business? And they were a massive expense. So we're like, well, do we need all of these vehicles? How can we potentially trim it back? And one of the big expenses was fuel cards. And, you know, I've then looked at an alternative business who do 25p less per litre on fuel. And that was a contact that I had within LinkedIn that I've then investigated. So just by incrementally looking at the expenses in detail, I've then dramatically decreased what their expenditure is. Because ultimately, you know, you need to know what that break-even point is on your business. And by knowing what you're spending out on consistently and what are the essential items and working out that point can really make a difference in your business. And you will be surprised at some of the things you look on there and you think, hang on a second, I didn't realise I was still paying for this. Or, okay, do I really need to be paying for this? Are they the right supplier for what my business needs? Now, sometimes, unfortunately, there are certain things that just does cost you, like marketing. But on the marketing front, are you looking at your return on investment? So most marketing things take at least 3 months to actually get any real traction on. So you need to give it at least that before you start kind of analysing and cutting and potentially cutting back. But what are you, say for example, you're doing a particular marketing thing like Google Ads, are you then, and this is where knowing your numbers is crucial, is do you know how many leads you have got from Google Ads, as an example, and how many of those have converted to sales? Because then you can actually attribute a value against what it's costing you in terms of Google Ads. Now, if Google Ads are costing you, say, £5,000 a month, and I'm just plucking a figure out the sky, but you're only getting £2,000 worth of sales each month from it, then are you really then getting your return on investment? And it's this type of analysis which is crucial, which then leads me on to point 2. And that is reviewing the services and the packages in which you are offering and looking at what are the most profitable. Now, when you know what the ones are the most profitable, they're the ones that you then focus on selling more of. Now, this also comes down to things like your profit margin. So depending on what sector you're in, and when you're looking at your profit margins, one of the things that you need to remember is what your break-even point is, and that is then factored into that profit margin. So look at what is the most profitable. Make sure you set your minimum value. So for example, if you are selling based on profit margins, that you don't go beyond a certain point, because sometimes it is okay to turn around and say no to a sale, because if you're not going to make any money out of it, there is absolutely no point in doing it. So then turning on to point 3. And point 3 is in relation to increasing your prices of the packages in which you have reviewed as the most profitable. Now, when I was at the live event that I mentioned to you the other day, we were talking about how your packages are structured and the pricing. So, for example, one of the things that came out from when I was at that event for me is my online program. And my online program, I have now changed it from a 3-month program to a 6-month program. And I'd already had in the pipeline a price increase as of the 1st of April. But what I'm doing is I'm restructuring that pricing slightly, because ultimately I want to get more people on board on the program well, there's not much left of this week, but the rest of this week and then into April. So on that basis, and this is where, if this is something that is of interest to you, then please put in the comments online. And this program, in terms of, I've talked about previously the Business Fixer Toolkit. This is where you get short videos of me teaching you the what, the why, and how over those 5 key topics in the Business Fixer Toolkit. So very quickly, business planning, financials, marketing, sales, and mindset, right? And you get key lessons on those things. And I actually give you a plan in terms of which modules you should be focusing on each month. You also then get a monthly review with me, and you also get once a week Q&A group session and a online and once a week drill down session. Now, the 3-month package price, and I don't normally necessarily talk about prices on here, but I think this is actually a really important point for me to share with you for this. The package price for 3 months was £1,997, right? And I am doing a deal where if you guys are interested and you confirm and want to go on the online program by 4 o'clock tomorrow, that's Friday, 4 o'clock tomorrow, if you confirm you want to be on that program, you will be kept on that price. So it was the price for the 3-month program to get the 6-month program. But if you're unable to do that full upfront fee, there is also an option where you can pay monthly for the first 5 months of £500. So that means that I am accommodating people. I know cash flow can be tight. Now, it is going up as of the 1st of April to 2,997. It's not going to stay at that price indefinitely, but it is certainly going to be at that price for certainly in April, and I will review it again potentially in May. So if you want to take part on that online program where you want to recession proof your business, you want to make sure that systems and processes are improved and that your business is running as efficiently as possible, as profitably as possible, and that you want more cash in the bank and more of your time back, then this is the course that will completely transform your business. So I'm not going to go into any more detail on that, but if it's something you are interested in, we do look at things like your pricing, we look at your why, we cover so much within it. But if you want to have a conversation with me about it, just please put online in the comments or pop me a DM and we can have a conversation. So thanks guys for listening. I hope that you've got some real value on the 3 ways to increase your bottom line, and I will see you all very soon. Take care.